Hey guys, this is Jason from MainstreamGeek.com, and you're listening to the Mainstream Geek Podcast for February 10th, 2016. Welcome to the Wednesday show. Just a reminder, here off the top, if you listen on iTunes, please make sure that you are subscribed. Also, if you wouldn't mind, make sure that you are leaving a little rating and review. It's what helps me get found in iTunes. It's what helps me grow as a show, so that's a big deal. If you're not a fan of iTunes for podcasting, I can also be found on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and the video version of the show can be found on YouTube, so go there, subscribe to that channel, make sure you're liking the videos, leave me a little comment on there. And with all that being said, let's move on from the boring stuff and into some news. The big story of the day being that Star Wars The Force Awakens broke $2 billion at the worldwide box office and currently sits at number 3 on the charts. I know this isn't exactly a news story. I mean, we all saw it coming. In this past year, in 2015, we saw I think it was 3 movies that crossed the $1 billion mark alone. Actually, they well surpassed. Let's look it up actually, just for accuracy's sake. Probably should do this better in the show notes before I start recording the show, but that's not how I do things. I fly by the seat of my pants. Yeah, okay, so Jurassic World made $1.67 billion at the box office, which was number 3 in the worldwide charts until recently. Fast and Furious made $1.5 billion, which we covered a couple episodes ago, if you want to go listen to my thoughts on that. And Avengers Age of Ultron made $1.4 billion. So in 2015, before Star Wars The Force Awakens even came out, there were 3 separate movies that not only crossed the $1 billion mark, but went, I'd say, an average of $1.5 billion. There was no way that the continuation of the Star Wars series was going to come out and not surpass these. I mean, Star Wars has a built-in audience no matter what. None of these movies had a... Well, I guess all of these movies had a built-in audience, but Furious 7 making $1.5 billion just screams to me that Star Wars was going to make well beyond that. Jurassic World made $1.67 billion, and, Jurassic Park, the first one, the original one, great movie, one of my favorites. But is that $1 billion? Wait, was the original Jurassic Park $1 billion movie? I think it might have been. I think Jurassic Park may have gone... Let's look that up, too. I think Jurassic Park may have gone past $1 billion, but just over $1 billion. I can't say for sure of that. Give me 1 second here. We are getting sidetracked like crazy. Jurassic Park made $1,029 million at the box office. That's what that means, right? 1,020. Yeah, $1,029 million at the box. So Jurassic Park, the original one, did go past $1 billion. I could see why that one, and Age of Ultron, of course, that one was going to go above it. But these movies, we could expect Star Wars to surpass these. It is, in fact, a big deal, even though $1 billion movies are not unheard of these days. It's a big deal in the fact that only 2 movies in history have ever passed the $2 billion mark. And those were James Cameron's Titanic, which made $2.18 billion back in 1997, and held the number 1 spot on the world charts until 2009. That's when another James Cameron movie called Avatar hit theaters, a little one you guys might have heard of, and pulled in, what did that one make? $2.78 billion worldwide. So I saw these figures, and I wondered, not taking away from those movies in any way. So don't take me wrong, I'm not taking away saying that these 2 movies that have beat Star Wars at the box office shouldn't have won that, because if they won it, they won it. But I wondered, why is it that these 2 movies are holding their spot, and not only holding their spot, but in a world where billion-dollar movies seem to happen at least a few times a year now, why aren't there any movies coming close to that? So I did a little research to figure this out, just because I'm a curious guy, and it's an interesting topic to me. But in doing my research, I kind of fell into a bit of a rabbit hole on the internet, actually, that makes the $2 billion that Star Wars The Force Awakens did make all the more impressive. I went through the average price of movie tickets back in the day, back in 1997 when Titanic came out, which was like $450, I think is what that came out to be, and back in 2009 when Avatar came out, which I think was like $750 was the average ticket price back then. And I did the math, and I was like, no, that wouldn't make any sense as to why they would make so much money. I went through a few things like that, but when I finally did all of the research, it turns out when you break it all down, it really comes down to the amount of time that was spent in the theater. You have to remember that, or if you can't remember because you're too young, movies didn't used to come home to VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray as quickly as they do today. If a movie was still making money, it would sit in theaters, sometimes for months. And in 1997, people, young women mostly, were going back time and time again, just like we did with Star Wars this past year, to see Titanic. Usually in groups. And a lot of times making their boyfriends take them. I remember back in high school, the girl I was hanging out with took me to see it 3 times, making me pay for it. Meaning that I paid to see Titanic 6 times because I paid for both her and I each time. So this helped Titanic stay in theaters for, I think it was 12 whole months, with a 3-month break in the summertime, which was pretty much just there to build up the marketing hype, to have a kind of marketing plan that said, see it in theaters one last time, if you remember that. And it worked. $426 million of its $2.18 billion came from that 3-month push where it came back to theaters. Again, I'm not taking away from Titanic's success, but there was definitely something there that Star Wars doesn't have, and that's time in the theater to make that money. The same thing happened to Avatar, but with a few extra tricks up its sleeve. You see, before Avatar came out, 3D and IMAX were novelties that were reserved mostly for museums and not for theatrical releases. So the novelty that the first real movie would be shot completely in IMAX and 3D was a spectacle that very few people had seen, and a way to charge even more for ticket prices. The average ticket price in 2009 for a movie ticket was, like I said, around $750. But tickets to Avatar in 3D, which it was marketed as the only way to see the film, were an astounding $11.50 per ticket, meaning for that every one ticket sold, it was outselling every other movie that had come out by about 1.5 times. Avatar also had the benefit of repeat viewings, just like Titanic and just like Star Wars The Force Awakens. So it was able to stay in theaters for 9 months in continuous circulation. So we have the answer as to how Avatar and Titanic made all of that money, that mountain of money that seems untouchable to any other movie. But with my research, I still didn't have an answer as to why a film like Star Wars The Force Awakens seems to be losing so much steam in comparison to the other two, which could carry on for so long. I mean, Star Wars The Force Awakens is still doing very well in theaters compared to how old it is, but it's not having the kind of numbers that would keep it in theaters for so long, if that was still a thing that happened these days. So I looked at what the other two films were up against in terms of competition when they came out. And that was where the key was. Until the past couple of years, there would be an average of 2, maybe 3 blockbuster films released in a year, and those would typically be released in the Memorial Day to Labor Day season. That really helped Titanic and Avatar because they both released as Christmas movies, December 18th and December 19th, respectively, where there's essentially no competition for months against them, just like Star Wars The Force Awakens did, opened on December 18th. What is not the same for Star Wars The Force Awakens is the competition. In 2016, there is literally a new blockbuster movie every month. So the landscape for big box office movies has changed. Something else that's changed is with the release of so many box office hits coming to theaters these days, there's no room for a movie that's a few months old, even though it may still be making money. Let that sink in. In the year 2009, the average release cycle for a movie was 5 months, and that even includes your bargain second-run theaters. So from the time that it would come out to the time that it left your bargain theater was about 5 months. Also in 2009, an expected home release on Blu-ray would be within a year. That's not the case anymore. The average release schedule for a movie in 2016 is 3.5 months from the time it hits theaters to the time that you can buy it to watch it at home. 3.5 months. So all of that taken into account, it's no wonder that these two movies haven't had any real danger of competition, and probably never will be touched. Star Wars Episode 7 making $2 billion is an anomaly that likely not even the follow-ups to it will touch. And there's nothing wrong with that. What do you guys think about this? Will the announced home release of Star Wars being April 5th, probably earlier for digital, affect the movie's ability to reach Titanic or Avatar? And by the way, I'm not rooting for it to reach Avatar at all. That's the thing that's not going to happen. But Titanic, it's only about 100 million or so away. 100 million and some change away. So, in a couple months, maybe, we'll see. But Avatar, that's not going to happen. Do you think any movie will ever touch Avatar's record? Let me know what you think by reaching out on Facebook and Twitter at Mainstream Geek, or by emailing me at jason@mainstreamgeek.com. All right, what else do we have here? We're starting off the superhero season a little early this year, and I guess it's not even really a season anymore, as much as it's going to be an all-year-round thing from now on. But we're kicking off this season, or the beginning of forever, on this Friday, with the release of Deadpool. And though I haven't been super excited for seeing this one, I've pretty much been committed to seeing the movie because I keep up on these types of films. But now, with reviews that have started pouring out for the movie, by the way, over a week before it's released, which is pretty unheard of. Most movies have an embargo on reviews lifted about 3 days before the movie comes out. So Fox having enough faith in the movie to release the embargo a week ahead of time is really impressive to me. It actually says something about how good the movie actually is. Especially after their last outing into the superhero genre with the Fantastic Four. They held reviews on that one until midnight the day it came out. So you could only really find out if you wanted to see that movie in the morning after you've already decided you're going to go see it and you have plans that evening. Imagine how poorly it would have done if people had real-time reviews for that movie. Not real-time, but enough time to read reviews for the movie before they went to see it. But reviews are pouring in for Deadpool, and they are overwhelmingly positive. It has an 84 or an 82. You know what? Let me check that real quick, because I am not positive what the Rotten Tomatoes score is on this one. It looks to be an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is that's pretty good. It's considering that it's not even been seen by the public yet, that not all reviewers have been out there to see it. And all of the reviews that are negative, they just seem to say that it's not advancing the superhero genre at all, which is kind of a weird thing to say. It's just like, what superhero movie lately has advanced the superhero genre at all? But overwhelmingly, even the bad reviews say it's a good movie, it's just not what they were expecting. The good reviews are saying that it's hilarious, that it's action-packed from beginning to end, that there's boobs, that there's dicks, so it sounds like there's something for everybody on Valentine's Day. I am officially excited. So much, in fact, that I purchased 7 tickets for my friends and I to go see it on Friday evening. And from that viewing, we will be heading straight to the studio where we record our other podcast, Completely Straight. And we're going to be doing a review of the movie that night, to be released late in the evening, early the next morning, for your listening pleasure. If you want to find that review, go to CompletelyStraight.com and look at all of the ways that you can listen to that show. That is how you will find it. It will be a spoiler review, so if you're not going to be able to see it on Friday and you want to wait to listen to that one, we have a catalog of, I think, 24 other episodes so far that you can listen to. Also, we have a review of Star Wars The Force Awakens on there that you can listen to. So there's plenty to keep you occupied on CompletelyStraight.com besides the Deadpool review until you get a chance to see it. Just make sure you're subscribed to the show. And when you're ready, our thoughts on Deadpool will be right there waiting for you where you left them. But even though the movie has been seen by journalists, there is something that the studio has left out just for us fans of movies. An end credits scene that was not in the screening of the film for journalists. So if you're going to see Deadpool, once those end credits start to roll, make sure you don't jump up and walk out of the theater, because there will be an end credits scene that, according to the film's writers, is worth sitting through the end credits for. Just a little public service announcement from me at Mainstream Geek. What else do we have going on? I don't know if you guys can tell, but I have a bit of a sore throat today, so I might keep it short and sweet for this Wednesday version. But I'm going to keep going for a few and just see how my throat feels. Well, the Super Bowl happened since the last time I recorded an episode. So that means we got a bunch of new trailers. Let's go through these and see if we can end the show out with that. I'm a little confused by one commercial that wasn't necessarily a trailer. It's the Coke commercial. Or was it Pepsi? No, it was a Coke commercial with Ant-Man stealing the can of Coke from Hulk. What's the deal with this? I know it's just a cute commercial, and I don't think that they're trying to say anything about the movie by having the Hulk and Ant-Man in a commercial together. So don't take this as me saying that I believe they're up to something with this commercial. But I am a little confused by the synergy marketing that Marvel and Coke seem to be having going on. Coke is releasing Coke cans with characters from Captain America Civil War to promote the movie, just like companies do with every big movie that comes out. Oreos release a frozen set of Oreos to eat, or Doritos will release a Spider-Man bag of Doritos. Well, Coke is releasing Captain America Civil War cans to promote the movie. And there's a viral marketing campaign going on with that also, with hidden symbols that you have to search for to find the meaning behind. But in all this co-marketing that they're doing, they're including the Hulk, who, as far as we know, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but as far as I know, has nothing to do with the movie. Or is this just the huge green elephant in the room that I'm missing? I believe that Mark Ruffalo has even said that he isn't in the movie. But here he is in commercials and marketing materials for Civil War. I don't think I'm wrong about him not being in the movie, but please let me know on Twitter or Facebook if I am wrong, because I don't like speaking out of school. If I've somehow skipped over the Hulk's presence in the movie, I want to know about it. But speaking of the Super Bowl and Civil War, we got another trailer from Captain America Civil War, and it was pretty awesome for a 30-second spot. It didn't give anything more away from the movie, which I really like, because a lot of trailers these days, by the time the movie comes out at least, pretty much lay the movie out for you before you even walk into the movie theater. It was just a nice little refresher on what the movie was about. One scene in particular stood out to me as showing how severe this movie is going to be, and it's the scene where Tony Stark has that watch that's turning into his Iron Man glove, and he grabs a hold of the gun in the Winter Soldier's hand just before the trigger is pulled in his face. So that means that there's going to be a willingness to kill each other to fight for what they want in this movie. So that's kind of like a bit of dramatic tension that I'm looking forward to. We also get to see the full teams take sides. We get to see Ant-Man for the first time. He has a new updated costume, which I have to wonder if he got the costume. I haven't seen the movie, no one has, but just the way my brain works is, I wonder if he got the costume from the Avengers, which wouldn't make a lot of sense to me, because from what I've gathered in the trailers, Ant-Man comes into the fold after they have the fallout with Tony, because Falcon brings the idea up to Cap when they find the Winter Soldier in that vice thing, in that warehouse. So that is after the fallout with Tony. So I don't see the Avengers and Tony's how the Avengers get all of their cool toys. So I don't see the Avengers giving him that costume. So I'm thinking that what's going on there is that Hank Pym is redesigning the costume while he's working on the Wasp costume, and they're working as like an independent crime-fighting team. It also makes me wonder if we're going to get a little preview of the Wasp in this movie, just to set up Ant-Man and the Wasp. But we also get our first look at Vision in this movie, and it's just brief at the very end, but we see that he's there with the rest of Iron Man's team, so we know he is on that team. What else do we see? We get a look at what appears to be the death of Rhodey as War Machine, which a lot of people on the internet are arguing that he's not going to die, he's just getting hurt, and I'm sure everyone's right. But something else I picked up on while watching this trailer is, in the scene where the big face-off is occurring, again, this is a 30-second trailer, so you have to know what I'm talking about. The scene where both teams come, they're kind of facing off against one another. War Machine's arc reactor in his chest and his eyeballs are glowing red, but in other parts of the trailers that we've seen in the past, they're blue. But we've also seen that he is hurt on the ground, at least. What if that new War Machine isn't Rhodey anymore? What if it's like a robot version of Rhodey, and that's why it's glowing red, like because there's some kind of new development? I don't know. Just spitballing there. Just speculation. Basing on nothing. Just a little thought I had while watching the trailer, like, oh wow, what does that mean? Why is it red all of a sudden? They've always been blue, a bluish white in the past. So just a little thought I had. Something that was missing from the trailer, though, and I think everyone was hyped up to see, was Spider-Man. Still no sight of Spider-Man. I have no idea what role this guy is going to play in the movie. They're keeping this one super close to the chest. The movie is literally 3 months away. 3 months! And we have yet to see anything of the guy. So I'm still thinking that his role might be simply a nod that he exists in this universe now. Possibly an end credit scene, setting him up. So we'll have to see how that one goes. Another trailer we got, or can you really call it a trailer? It's a bit of promotional material, really. It's the Turkish Airlines commercial that highlights that they now can fly to Gotham City and Metropolis. Which it was revealed last summer that the two cities are sister cities, like San Francisco and Oakland, I think is what they compared it to. So I'm not sure why this would be a big deal that they can fly to one and also another city that's about 10 miles away. So they sort of missed the mark with me on this one. Also, they sort of pulled off the integration of both the movie and the airline in these spots, But then they went ahead and actually showed clips from the movie at the end, which just made a cool bit of viral marketing come off a little cheesy and cheap, if you ask me. It completely ruined the illusion of this is a real commercial for a real company for me. And in all honesty, it made me wonder if Turkish Airlines was a real airline. So I went to their site, and I didn't get an answer for that. Because the Turkish Airlines site looks just like another piece of bad marketing for a bad movie. But I do feel as if I've heard of Turkish Airlines before. So I'm a little confused about that one. I don't know what it is about this movie, but every time they bring me in and get me excited, I feel like they drop the ball and take 2 steps back with me. I'd say after these 2 spots, I'm at about a 50-50 excitement level with this one. Like, I'm excited, I want to go, but half of me is also saying, it's going to be bad, you know it, you're just going to be there opening night because these are the kind of movies you like, and that's just the way it goes with you. I have high hopes that it's good, but marketing like this just feels like they're talking down to me by adding the clips from the movie at the end of it. I knew it was for Batman v Superman. I just didn't need the heavy-handedness. I understand that a lot of people need to have things spelled out for them, and that's fine. But I don't, and we're talking about my personal enjoyment of the trailer here, so I can only express my personal enjoyment of the trailer. That took me out of it a little bit, made me enjoy it a little less. What other kind of trailers did we get here? We got another trailer for Independence Day Resurgence, and Jesus Christ. Everything I see from this one, it just keeps losing me. I have high hopes because I love the original so much, but my God, this is just too little, too late. No, you know what? It's not even too little. This is too much too late. They are trying too fucking hard. Plus the title. The fucking title. I mean, not only is Resurgence as awful of a title as Genesis was from the Terminator movies, so boring. I really feel like with a title like that, they're marketing towards Nickelback fans. They're just picking a word that sounds somewhat menacing and somewhat big so that simple people can understand what the word means and just tagging it on the end of Independence Day. But even calling Independence Day in my eyes was a terrible idea. This movie just comes off as a remake without calling it a remake. I feel like I already know the beats of the movie. I almost feel like I know each joke in the movie. I know how this movie is going to play out. God, do I ever hope that I am wrong, but I just feel like I know everything about this movie without really knowing anything about this movie. It just looks bad, and it pains me to say that. I always talk about how much I love the original Independence Day. I love it. And it pains me to see how bad they're making this movie. It looks awful. So I'm going to stop talking about that one now. What else did we have in the world of trailers on Super Bowl Sunday? We also had a trailer from Ninja Turtles 2. More of the same, but we got confirmation of Krang. Though it's not confirmation of if it's classic Krang from the cartoon series in the 80s, or if it's this new hive mind Krang from the Nickelodeon series. By the way, if you haven't watched the new Nickelodeon Ninja Turtle series, you are missing out, my friend. Check that shit out ASAP. Super good. We also got a new teaser for the Jason Bourne movie, which turns out it's actually called Jason Bourne. It looks as badass as ever, but it's just a trailer. Matt Damon got ripped for this movie. The action looks amazing. The fighting looks amazing. But again, it was a 30-second trailer. I can't really go too in-depth on it because I don't know that much about it. You know just as much as I know about it. So we got an X-Men Apocalypse trailer with a slow, dark version of the Coldplay song. Oh my God, what is the name of that song? We live in a beautiful... Don't Panic. So it's a dark version of the X-Men Apocalypse trailer with a slow, dark version of Coldplay's Don't Panic playing in the background. Didn't really get anything new to remark on in this trailer, except confirmation that Olivia Munn's Psylocke will feature beautiful, beautiful cleavage. And anything in the booby department that comes from Olivia Munn, I am a huge fan of. So if nothing else, X-Men Apocalypse gets my money based on her sexy costume alone. We got a trailer for... a super long trailer for The Jungle Book. At the Super Bowl, I think the commercials were going for $5 million for a 30-second ad. And the Jungle Book's trailer came in at a minute and a half. So $15 million for one commercial, which I really don't understand the waste in this one. I'm as excited for the Jungle Book as the next guy, but if I were a marketing guy for Disney, I wouldn't add 10%. Let's say the film costs $150 million to make. If I were the marketing guy, I wouldn't add 10% of the film's production budget to the overhead for the film's bottom line. For a trailer to be played one time at the Super Bowl when things like YouTube exist in the world. And YouTube's where people watch trailers these days. Why wouldn't you just put up a 15-second teaser during the Super Bowl saying that you can see the full trailer on YouTube? You could also monetize your YouTube channel so you could recoup some of the expense. Just seems like a waste to me. But we did get to see the animals talk and interact, so there were some cool things in the trailer. I just think that paying $15 million for a commercial that can be seen for free on YouTube is kind of unnecessary. What was the other trailer? Oh, and last but not least, we got a teaser, another teaser, for 10 Cloverfield Lane, which to me was the big news of the night. I didn't expect to see this one at all. I'm not going to go too far into this one on this episode because I'm playing with the idea of doing a show this Friday on breaking down 10 Cloverfield Lane and going through why it's such a big deal, why everyone should be so excited about it. So keep that in mind. This Friday, February 12th show might be 10 Cloverfield Lane Day, depending on if I have time to put it all together. Because Cloverfield, with the behind-the-scenes metagame, is a deep well to dive into. So I'm not sure if I'll have that much time to really put it together, and I want to make sure I'm doing it right if I do it. If not, we'll just have a normal show. And that looks like that's all we have for this Wednesday edition of Mainstream Geek, the podcast. Just a few things before I go. If you're listening to this but haven't subscribed, please be sure to do that on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Spreaker, whichever server you listen on. While you're there subscribing, please be sure to leave a rating and review. That helps me go up in the charts. That helps more people find me. That gets me more listeners. That strokes my ego. So please do that. Please visit my YouTube page for more content. Be sure to subscribe there. If you want to hear my comedy podcast, Completely Straight, visit CompletelyStraight.com to find all of the ways that you can. If you have any thoughts on anything I've talked about today, find me on Facebook and Twitter at Mainstream Geek and let me know what you think. You can find me on any other social networks by searching Mainstream Geek. Email me at jason@mainstreamgeek.com to let me know your thoughts. Make sure you listen on Friday because, like I said, I'm going to be breaking down the Cloverfield mythology and setting up my thoughts for the upcoming Walking Dead Season 6 return, so we can start reviewing that next week. So I'll see you Friday. Until then, keep it geeky.